Hello, this is Joe Welinske, Program Manager for ConveyUX, Seattle's annual user experience conference coming up February 28, March 1, and March 2, and I get a chance to speak with all of our interesting upcoming presenters, and today I am speaking from my home office in Seattle to Rachelle Ornan-Stone. Hello, Rachelle. How are you, and where are you speaking to us from today?
Hey, Joe. How you doing? Hi, everyone. I'm also from my home office, otherwise known as the dining room in Seattle.
Well, it's good to have you here, and you're from Boeing, and I thought you could talk a little bit about your background and the types of things that you're involved with.
Cool. Absolutely. So my background is not that traditional from a Boeing sense, meaning I was not trained as a real live engineer, but I have a human factors background, neuroscience, industrial design, experimental psychology background. And what I do and what I have done at the company is quite varied. My career, right shortly after grad school, within grad school, was involved with NASA and designing spacecraft habitats, interiors, as well as displays and graphical user elements on docking displays for, for example, a maneuver that a spacecraft would perform with the International Space Station. So that's varied to start with. I made my way into the Boeing company to a place called the Concept Center, where we worked on concept interiors, communication schemes, anything in the built environment aft of the cockpit door. We did not get involved in flight deck. But our job was to kind of reinvent the industry, rethink the passenger experience from the standpoint of what passengers want and what airlines are willing to pay for. That was a really fun job for about 5 years, and then I shifted to sales and marketing, which was interesting for me. It was another area in the company where research was actively going on, not just on what the market wants, but also envisioning the future of the passenger experience from investigating unarticulated needs, if I could say that. So trying to uncover what passengers don't quite know what they want yet and what airlines don't quite yet realize they need to offer, and how to push that on both Boeing internal as well as the industry, being an industry thought leader, that kind of thing. So it's been a really varied trip. Everything has been fascinating, and that's the reason I called my topic that I'll be speaking to an all-you-can-eat buffet, because that's generally how I feel Boeing as a company is, and especially all the usability and passenger experience opportunities that exist from nose to tail, from start to finish. And I hope to share some of that with your conference goers.
Well, I think all of us share an experience with flying on aircraft, and all have our own personal stories, anecdotes, things that we love, things that we don't love so much, and so it'll be interesting to hear about what a user experience means from the side of the manufacturer. But I thought next thing we could just check in with is if there's anything currently going on with you that you're particularly passionate about, any new big thoughts or work projects that you'd want to share with us?
Well, let's see, to the extent that I can share, when I started with the company and tracing my history, even in interest before I joined Boeing, one of the major drivers of curiosity for me is understanding the visual environment of an enclosed space. So how can we use research, sort of foundational type of research, the intersection of architecture and interior design, to understand the perceptual, I guess the understanding the percepts that are available inside the aircraft cabin, because as I'll hopefully share with you all, Boeing as a manufacturer only controls certain elements of the interior. For example, we don't actually make seats, which is a bummer for me because it's such a major portion of the journey, especially in economy class. But how can we, the things I always think about, I always return back, is how can we change the perception of the aircraft cabin to make it look more spacious, to make it look more cozy? What kind of effect can we have on the experience by changing certain elements that kind of go under the radar for most passengers, where it's not a widget, a gadget, a distractor, a menu description of something you don't even really want to eat, things like that. What are sort of the subconscious elements we can control? That's one thing that always has my interest from the get-go. But in terms of going into the exact opposite of what I just described, there's this whole interactivity that we haven't even really scratched the surface of inside a cabin, of connecting passengers to one another, connecting passengers to increased form of meaning, drawing attention to the fact that people are flying in a really unique environment, and we shouldn't just say, I'll just suck it up and hate this journey for the next 2 hours. There's so much more to be done with that time, and that's what I like to think about. What does the airplane offer in terms of an environment, in terms of interacting with other people, in terms of a global community? What can we leverage in that environment that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world? So whether you mediate it with electronics or immersive technology or VR one day or the built environment, all of those things come together and hopefully making something really memorable that makes, again, the airlines money and makes our passengers hopefully think they're on a Boeing airplane. Most people don't actually know that, and I confess I didn't know what airplane I was on until I started working at Boeing either. But those are the things that I think a lot about. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's great, and yeah, I think it's exciting to think about changes that'll happen, and unfortunately, I'm old enough to still remember a major user experience change when planes had smoking. And it's like almost hard to believe now that they have smoke-filled enclosed space for several hours. But
and we still have ashtrays located
in
the laboratories because we have to. And an interesting fact for the listeners is our airplane interiors, the coating that's on the bins and the sidewalls. You guys know what I mean? Obviously, you know what bins are, and sidewalls are basically where the window is. But they were available in slightly off-white, slightly yellowed color just for that reason, because you don't want the smoke to change the color of your interior. So now that we have outlawed smoking, we can now go to brighter white.
Wow. Very interesting. Well, the last piece I wanted to check in with you about is just your ideas about what you expect to share in your session, which, as you mentioned, is about Boeing, the all-you-can-eat UX buffet. So just talk a little bit about what you're pulling together.
Well, so I'm also using this as even a learning opportunity for me in some areas I don't often have a chance to explore. So, for example, my day-to-day is in a cube farm. I work in a cube. I don't work on the factory floor, but I know there are people who don't have traditional training in human factors and usability that are making a difference every single day. I'm hoping to share some stories of the real world instead of maybe, a more inclusive world of the Boeing world. Share some of those experiences, some of my own personal experiences, but here's some voices of real usability heroes. I'm hoping to incorporate some clips of people who get to work on in the manufacturing process as well, in addition to the things I get to deal with, which is passenger experience. There's so much that affects the company in terms of speed on production lines, safety of employees. It's quite varied. So I'm hoping, in the Seattle area, we have a lot of interface, GUIs, virtual type stuff. I'd like to go back to basics in a way of things that are real, things that can be counted and measured and are physical. I'm hoping to incorporate some of that as well. So anyway, stay tuned. it's still to be determined exact stories, but I'm looking forward to crafting an interesting presentation where even I get to learn some new things too.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today, and look forward to seeing you at the conference coming up soon.
Thank you for asking me. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks,
All right.
Joe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.